Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing a FineArt game that was played on Fox Go server. FineArt's opponent for today's game is Choi Cheolhan, 9 professional. If you don't know who Choi Cheolhan is, he is probably one of the more famous names in Go. His nickname was the Viper for his hyper-aggressive playstyle and being able to just have great fighting skills. I chose this game because there's just a lot of interesting parts of the game, and there's a part where there's a bunch of running groups on one side of the board, and I think learning how to handle a bunch of groups when there's a running fight is a very important thing to know and know how to do well. So that's why I chose this game. As well as that, there's some choice moves in the opening, questionable moves by FineArt as usual that I love to point out. So yeah, let's get into it. Choi Cheolhan takes 2 stones from FineArt. FineArt opens with large Shimari, and black just calmly plays away from it. White approaches, of course, and the Viper doesn't want to just back off, just could play a peaceful game, right? Knowing FineArt would probably approach again and then maybe do something like this. Don't know for sure, but FineArt likes to get this move at Q9 if possible. But doesn't want to play some Moyo building kind of game, just comes right in. White, of course, pincers. Once white has R14, you can see that not only is this move a pincer on this black R8 stone, but it's also an extension from his R14 stone. And then black plays off. So, very similar, but notice now, when I showed this variation, right, something like this, white was able to play here to defend most of the area, but getting a stone in here first, though, now when black backs off, black's already inside white. And notice there's a weakness here at R12. Even though white got this extension, it still leaves behind a weakness at R12 potentially. And getting the move at R8, if you don't know, this is not a weakness per se of this corner Shimari, but getting R8 on the board means black can look for Q4. So black has created Aji on the right side. Even though white is building and mapping at territory on the right side, black has created some Aji. So it's good to get this exchange in, because it's hard to diffuse the Aji with one move for white. And white approaches. Again, FineArt loves to just approach around the board. So something that humans can learn from FineArt. And then FineArt plays the move I've been playing a lot in my own games. Is this move against the large knights? So, what is this? What is the purpose of this move? My understanding of it is, if black's going to get this territory anyways in the bottom left, that's okay, but just make sure that's all it gets, right? Like, by playing here, black's territory in the bottom left is not going to grow that much. So you're just kind of pressing black down from afar. Like white could approach, and maybe something like this happens. But since this stone's on the third line, it can be pressed down, so black could still continue to build the lower left. Whereas when you play here, it's hard to press the stone down to kind of gain more points in the center. So it's center oriented. It means that there's a potential ladder from the upper right that would come down to the lower left. So it has a lot of good merit to it. It just looks like a strange move. And then black's move looks maybe even stranger, because if black ignores, white's looking to cut through here. So you would think, okay, how should I defend? Maybe this is a move I would think of. Maybe this one. Maybe this one in some cases. Usually this is considered not so good, because white would continue to get more forcing moves. But what about this one? Right? It seems to be away from what's actually going on. But this move actually is protecting its attachment. If you just Hane, well, then white just cuts through, and this move at h4 isn't really doing a lot. But black actually has a nice move here of clamping. And if white descends to keep black separated, notice because black played h4, black actually has a perfect connection here. White is unable to cut black anywhere. Again, if black had played anywhere else, this clamp would not work because this move is an Atari. White probably would just extend and, again, seal black into the small corner. But by playing here, it helps prevent this. So the best white can do is just do that, and then we get this kind of weird looking shape. If white were to do this. White wouldn't do this directly, but maybe if the board changes, white would look for that move. So this move is definitely the most efficient move as opposed to these. Of course, the downside is that the corner is still kind of open. So even though you protect the connection of this corner shimari, you're not protecting necessarily the corner points. So that is something to keep in mind. But white just calmly just dives. Very human move, honestly. Black kicks and then pincers. Very tight pincer. Yeah, not, just depends on style, really. Probably felt that this move or even this move felt a little too close to 017, so just wants to try to get a far enough extension. But white just ignores and says, okay, I'll just play in the bottom left. Yeah, so black, if black did this, if black blocks, there's some peculiar aji, I should say, because there's something with the ladder here. So I showed this move where black can clamp. Oops. Like this. Actually, there's nothing with the ladder, right? Yeah, white, if black did this, notice white can descend. And if black tries to play the same move, white's able to play this double peep. And force black to go here. These two stones aren't the most important, but black played here to try to separate white. So you can see that black actually can't really separate white too easily. If black played like a move like this to make sure white can't connect, white would happily just continue to take out the points. So that's why in the game, black just ignore. Again, it's all about trying to take sente. If a move isn't directly threatening anything too severely, just ignore. Right? Black ignored this move. If black answers, black would lose any aji of being able to invade here later. But by leaving it, black doesn't know if black wants to play here later or just take the point. So he just leaves it. And he tries to take sente elsewhere. Same thing here. Oh, I don't know if I want to cut white or just keep my corner. So I'll just ignore. And this is, if you want to improve, you just got to start thinking that way. Just think about leaving your options open until you are definitively sure that's what you want. Or if you definitively weigh one is better than the other. And then white does play here. But of course, black's able to clamp. White knows, so white connects, and then black covers. Then white covers here. This is a very smart move. This, if black were to ignore, would give white very good shape. Plus, there's cuts in black shape. Of course, black can just descend. And then white cuts. Black fixes on this side. Black could take this side, but strangely enough, with these three stones, it's actually pretty hard to keep white on the second line because white can cut here. So the cut is much more severe on this side. So black does answer here. Then white goes here. Black plays in the corner to capture white, and then white plays this goblin's nose technically, but so what is this move looking at? So basically it's looking at this Atari into this move. But if you make this Atari, notice this Atari here. Notice you are taking away liberties from your own group, from your own stones. So it would make these stones heavier. So if there's an exchange you don't need to make, just don't make it. That's basically why white didn't Atari first. Notice black's still unable to cut through, right? Because white can then just capture. So only when you know you need to play this move, right, is when you play it. So when you don't need to play it, just leave it. It still forces black to go here. Plus, going here actually takes away an inside liberty as well. And maybe that would be important with the semi-eye on the other side. So, very smart move. And good order of moves as well. White just jumps. Usually, especially when they've played low here, you want to look for kind of a faster move. But because black is so close, it's a little uncomfortable for white. Because when black goes here, white's shape isn't so good here because of this H15 stone. So white just plays a little slower, but that's because black played a lot closer. But again, it's important to keep in mind that every pincer, every move you make has not so much pros and cons, but just has different pluses and minuses. Right? Black played a lot closer to white on the upper left, which means white needs to play a little more careful and a lot more solid. But since black played closer to white on this side, it left this area on the upper side more open for a white invasion later, potentially. Black just jumps, and then white plays a strange looking shoulder hit, but helps build white's right side and reduce black's upper side, and helps protect against an invasion here. Black caps, and then white bravely comes in. Like, this move is wow. Like, it's weird. It's like white was like, okay, it's open right now, but I'll let black add another stone to make it more solid, then I'll come in. So it's an interesting idea. I think because this is a large knight's move, it's actually not. Black has added a stone in the area, but since black has run into the center with the knight's move, this can be cut. So white's actually looking at the weakness of the shape. I bet if black had gone here, which again would be a little more passive but a lot more solid, white wouldn't have invaded. But because black went here, I bet white was like, oh, I can invade. Plus, let's say black pincers, white would then be able to connect on the second line. So that's why in the game black descended. And this is a good multi-purpose move because it's also threatening, you know, if white runs out. Black wouldn't do this directly, but black would be able to connect and make quite a few points actually in the corner on the second line. And of course this move does prevent any connection between the upper left group and the center group. White does peep though, and then poke at the shape point. Black defended the upper side group, so white goes back to the upper right group. And then black plays a very sharp move. Again, efficiency. It's all about efficiency. So where does black play? Plays here. So, of course, white is threatening to cut. So, the question is, okay, well, if I go here, it kind of makes my shape kind of lumpy, and white would just run out happily, and my shape is not good. If I do a move like this, sure, white gets to come down, but when I come back, white can still run out, and these two spots are kind of me-eye, and again, it's not super great. Oops, if I come here, white would then descend, and yeah. So the question is how, and then this way would be basically the same thing, something like this. So the question is, is there any other way to protect the cut? Because black does need to protect the cut. So the question is, does this move protect the cut? So if white tries to push through directly, I don't think the ladder works for black. Because again, that move white played here, I think is a ladder breaker. Let me read it out. Yeah, it goes right here. But black can just go here, and white can Atari, and I'm not sure which is better. I'm not sure if Ataring directly is better, or if I think going here is better. Yeah, this one's definitely better because white is forced to go here. Oh wait, this just works, doesn't it? Yeah, it actually does work. When I reviewed it, I was like, oh, black can squeeze white, and sure, white captures 2 stones, but black weakens this side by a lot. But actually, black can just capture by turning. White can never get more than 2 liberties. So there's no way white can win the semi-eye. Okay, so yeah, that even works less so. What if white goes here? Black can still block, and if white tries to cut through, black can then turn to this direction. And again, white needs to connect, but then black would just connect. So better than the last one, but still white doesn't really accomplish what white wanted to do. So not really any other choices. Yeah. If white just comes back, even though white has a cut on this side, black would just take the top side. So yeah, in the game, white just pulls back. Then when black bumps, black then goes here. So you can see it's a lot more efficient. White blocks and then black jumps. So as opposed to just making the bamboo joint, you can see black has kind of made white's shape not so good. White needs to fix, because while this shape is super light, it can be peeped and cut basically anywhere. Basically pick where you want and you can probably cut this shape. So white fixes it a little bit and then black covers now. So yeah, this is a very good way for black to come out. So, and this is where at the beginning I was talking about running fights, right? At the upper side, basically right here, white has these 3 stones and this 1 stone here, and then black has these stones and then these 3 stones. So you can see how both players pretty elegantly have settled, for the meantime, their groups. And then white does descend. So now this group is cut off now. So now we have this white group in the upper left and in the upper center, upper middle. And then we have this black group right here and this black group here. And also with this move is also threatening like if black goes here, this move is threatening wedge here. And if black goes on this side, you can see white's able to cut. And if black goes on this side, we can see black gets cut off on this side too. Yeah, this would be pretty painful for black, because there's not a super clean way to connect either. And there's no way to seal white in. So again, black can capture the 1 stone, but it would be gote. And then white can attack the 3 stones here. So this move is extra important because of that as well. Black peeps once though, and then goes here, which again looks like a super slow move, but it's preventing the wedge there. And then white jumps out. Black plays here, and then gets to cut. And then white plays to help the upper left group. So this game's really good to look at, because it's really good to see what each player thinks is big, right? Like, black helped this group, then white helped this group, then black helped this group. And, oh, black might be able to reduce my right side a little bit, right? Black can go here. And if I descend, you know, can do something like this. But if I can live, it's still not as big as a potential attack, right? Like if white answered, black would be able to attack somehow. So it's very important to learn kind of this flow of like what's actually important. And it's important to note, black doesn't want to do this right now because it's that whole case of black doesn't know which one black wants. Like, do I want to cut this one stone off here at R10 or take the corner? If I do this one, white will then be able to take a pretty sizable corner. But maybe later black wants to take the corner, right? Because it's more point oriented and then white will clamp. So black doesn't know which one black wants. So even though it might be Sente to Atari and do all that, it would be getting rid of Achi. Black doesn't want to get sealed in. White leans. And then black pushes once. Always just push once. And then black jumps out, helping this group here. Weird to jump out with the knight's move, but because white's so weak, there's no way white can cut. And white just covers. And then black leans. So now this upper group, white upper group, is pretty weak. Let's see how FineArt handles this. Of course, to handle when you're weak, it's just push and cut, right? And then white plays here. So the timing of this feels weird. Yeah, feels weird to do this now. Like, so what happens is black covers here, so obviously black is worried about this push here. So I'm not sure why white doesn't just do this directly. There might be some like 100 move sequence that FineArt read out, but still. This move definitely helps with white's eyes, so I can understand that at like a surface level, but the timing is what's perplexing me. Because it's like, why, well, I get why you cut, but I would have wanted to like act on my cut. White covers, and then black plays here. This is a very nice move because it helps protect black here, but also puts more pressure on this group, on this stone here, right? Like if black goes here, it puts less pressure on this stone, whereas this move does both. Again, efficiency. And then white just lives. So after this, like black might think about doing this. What do you think about doing that? Not at this point. So what if black did this directly? So I think what would happen is, let me see. White goes here once. If black peeps out white's shape, white would then turn or cut first. No, turn directly. And then cut. And then push through. And then cut. Atari, cut. Now, it looks like white can get an eye here, but because black can... Actually... Would black... No. Black, yeah, black would just go here. White can go here. And then black can make this eye false. Like this. But black is super weak on the outside. So maybe white goes here. Black needs to answer. And then white can push. Black Ataris. And then cut. And you can see black needs to do something on the outside. So you can see black's outside is just super thin. And it's kind of weird because white does have an eye, but black has so much outside liberties that I actually don't know who would win the semi-eye if black just goes here. I bet white would actually, because white can wedge once. And then go here. Yeah, white would definitely win this, I would imagine. But I'm not sure. Yeah, it's tricky. But basically, you can see black's outside has a ton of cuts, and it's hard. Again, if you do a fight like this, it's hard to hold everything together, right? So black just plays a simple move. I'll stay connected. I know you have to live in Gote. I'll just protect my outside and get Sente. Well, kind of Sente. Black captures the stone. Not directly, because the ladder technically works for white, or does it work for white? Yeah, it does work for white, but black can net. And even though white can capture or save these stones, you can see, oops, it wouldn't be so good for white. The shape here isn't that good. So, for the meantime, this stone is captured. But remember all the way back when white played c10, black never answered. And whenever your opponent finally gets sealed in, that's a good time to invade. Once you're surrounded completely on the outside. Of course, black blocks. Can't do anything too aggressive because white would just scoop out a lot of points. And white plays here. This would be like the customary move, but black can go here. Or what would black do actually? Black goes here. White can actually do this. Black goes there would be the same thing. So would black go here maybe? Oops. I'm not sure what black would do. Yeah, but I think black would go here. So even though white would reduce black a little bit, black would maintain most of this corner. By going here, we can see by changing the order of moves, it changes everything basically. Yeah, because in that variation, it was like this. Let's say white Atari'd here actually. So not super great for white, but if we change the order of moves, we can see white would not go here now. White would go here now, which is what happens. But then black's able to descend, and then white can cut. So the question is black able to kill white? And right now, no. So black can squeeze, and if white connects, white would be dead. There's no way white can win a semi-eye against this outside group. I'm not sure which eye is better, probably this eye, because there's a co-shape, but even still, white would just be dead. White would be able to squeeze on the outside, but the corner is still pretty big. So what else can white do? What white can do is actually ignore this Atari, which might feel weird. But notice when you connect, it forces black to go here. And then notice black's just able to block like this. But notice if we do the same exact thing, if black blocks, when we push up, notice that these two stones still only have 2 liberties. Whereas when we connect, notice they're connected to the whole group. And that does matter, actually. So like if black blocks here, if black comes here, white would connect. And now you can see black has 2 cutting points. Black protects one of them. Let's say black connects here. And then something like this happens. Throw in once. We can see this would be just it would be a ko, but if black loses this ko, black probably loses the game, because that's a big corner to just lose. Especially there's no ko threats big enough, so that would be a ko. So this would mean black needs to do this move. If black does that move, white will extend, and again, black can't let white get this move because black's shape would just be awful. Then white can connect, and then white would be able to live. White has 2 eyes. So by not saving these stones, white is actually would preserve Aji, which feels weird, right? If white just takes, or if black just takes, same thing, white can push. If black blocks, white would then turn. And again, the liberties here are not great for black. If black goes here directly, Atari, and then take. And again, it's very similar, where black has a hard time capturing white. So, and if black fixes, this move is again Sente. Yeah, where does black even play? If black just protects, What's better? I think this is better. Yeah, white can take, and even though black can take out the eye that side, white has enough space to make 2 eyes. So, bottom line, black is, after white goes here, black's shape crumbles. Again, if white captures or connects, white would die. So, it's kind of weird how not capturing these 2 stones is actually would help white. It's all because of liberties. So I guess depending on what your skill level is of who's watching, it's a good lesson that you don't always have to save stones, even if they're in Atari, and you can quote unquote save them, because sometimes it can hurt you. So yeah, I think that's a good lesson. So black can't do that directly, so black tries to squeeze out a little bit more. This is very common tombstone teisuji, where white tries to capture. It's very similar, but white's shape here is much worse. So I think if we do it this way, or no, just this way. If we do it this way, notice, because by throwing in once, notice how white has kind of filled in his own eye space. White's unable to make 2 eyes now, right? If white goes there, black goes there, and vice versa. Yeah. So in the game though, white goes here, which is a very smart move. Notice this is preventing black playing this cut here, which is what led to the squeeze, right? This move here. So it's preventing black from going there, but it's also threatening to cut at e16, but also capture the 2 stones. So even if black Ataris and connects, if white just captures, locally this is actually a very common dead shape. Actually, white would just go here, and it's actually no, the other way's better. Other way's better, where this sort of thing will happen. But it's pretty risky for black. Actually, would this be fine? Atari. Oh, white would go here? Yeah, white can go here. Wait, would white go there? I'm so confused. Because black can do this. Force white to go there. Huh. This is... I did not consider black trying to capture white in the review. What would white do if black Atari and then connect? Maybe Atari once more. But then... I don't know if that's Ajikashi, but black could then capture. And white doesn't get much. Interesting. Because this is not what happens in the game. I'll say that now. Maybe... But when black goes there, white wouldn't answer. And white would like take the stones on this side. But that feels pretty big. Maybe it's a decent trade for white, and that's why he didn't do it. Not sure though. If you have any ideas, maybe am I missing something obvious? Again, life and death is not my forte, so yeah, interesting. Okay. In the game, black does Atari, but then just comes back and connects, which would let white capture. And those sequences are pretty hard to read. Again, I'm not sure for a pro level because I'm not pro, but these games are 60-second overtime periods 10 times. So even if he spent 2 or 3, that would be 3 minutes. I would assume he would be able to read that. I'm not sure though. Maybe this is just simpler. Black gets Sente, trade the corner, you get Sente, no big deal. Black Ataris, and then plays here. And usually you play this one. I'm not really sure why he did this one in this case instead. Like what about this position on the right side makes this one better than this one? Or it's just style, or I don't know. Some pros will also play these kind of moves because they kind of, since they use AIs to learn, they kind of like use it as like a learning experience. White covers, black flags, and then white blocks. push once and then hane. White covers. Black hanes. White covers back. And then connects. This is a good order of moves for white. Black needs to go here. If black cuts, it's not so clear actually. What would happen? Black might think it's too risky. Definitely be. No, yeah, it'd be too risky for black. Yeah, too risky for black. White has a bunch of coats, what's in the bottom left is too. So black just descends. White cuts once, which is weird, and then fixes. Again, not sure what this cut is. This is definitely an AI move, right? Like, play a forcing move just to play a forcing move. And then leave it. In this case, black does live in sente, but white's outside is pretty nice as well. Then black finally takes back here. White does cover, which is sente. Black needs to answer. White descends, which is also sente. As opposed to playing here, even though you reduce black's corner by more, you end in gote. But by playing here, if black ignores, you can actually attach here. And notice black's unable to play on the first line. So black would need to go here, but notice black's dead. Because if black plays at the shape, or at the 2i spot, this capture actually takes away this I at t3. And if black answers, white can then kill. So white is giving up a point to maintain sente, which in middle game, if it's complete sente, that's definitely worth it. Because especially like if white does whatever, and then black descends here, this is a huge gain for black. Because it reduces white's area and increases black's. So always look for these kind of, even if it's just 1 point. Again, lots of players will just instinctually hane, but even if you give up just 1 point, you will maintain sente. So black, of course, blocks, and now white extends. Black peeps, and then white caps. Black shoulder hits, and then white plays a strange move. If you look at L4, like it's a shoulder hit, how should you respond to a shoulder hit? It looks weird, but if you look at the left side, or like what's to the left of it, it's not so weird. Because these stones at D2 for white are still on the board. So if white can cut these stones apart, black would needs to worry about these stones here. And remember way back when I said it's good that white didn't Atari at E4, that actually comes up in the game, where if white had Atari at E4 way earlier, like before this move at B4, then everything you're about to see will probably not work. But because white's saved a liberty, everything here, quote unquote, works. So black cannot just give up like this, because then white would just surround like that. So black needs to fight here. White cuts, and then black Ataris, and then covers. White hanes, and connects, threatening to cut. And you can see when black fixes, white Ataris, and then Ataris. And yeah, notice black's unable to connect because white would then be able to win the semi-I. Now, just for the sake of argument, let's say white had made this exchange earlier. So I'll just put it on now so I don't have to go all the way back. Let's say white made that exchange earlier. You can see black would be able to save these stones in sente, right? So these stones are completely captured. But are these stones here D2 are completely captured. But without that move, notice if black ignores, when white captures, white would actually win the semi-I now. Right? So by not Atarying, white's able to capture these stones later if white wants to. So it's actually a huge difference. So again, don't make exchanges, especially when it has to do with liberties and stuff like that. Too early. Save exchanges for when you know you need them. And even if you just start thinking about things like that, like, oh, is this, if I Atari and I take away liberty, will that be important later? Just even if you start thinking that way, you'll start thinking like a strong player, like a professional. Of course, black cuts. And then white plays a brilliant move. A brilliant move. See if you can spot the move white plays. This move. What is this crazy looking move? It definitely is crazy looking. So what is this move doing? Well, it's like, okay, I can capture. What are you doing, white? What white is going to do, white's going to then Atari on the top and then capture the 2 stones here. So as opposed to like playing like this move here, Atari, and then doing it this way, notice doing it this way, black would then be able to cut here actually. And capture the tail by doing it this way, again, by order of moves, right? This is the move white wants to play anyways right here, so just play it. Notice connect. If black connects, it's a little better because white didn't make this cut here. Whereas I guess it would result in the same thing, wouldn't it? But without making that cut there means if white plays this ko, white has local threats, by the way. If black loses this ko, let's say, I don't know, something. Because white didn't cut, but white would then be able to potentially look at the shape point here. Whereas if since white cuts, white would give black good shape here. So it's just order of moves. If you don't need to make the exchange, don't make it. And of course, the elegance factor, like this move is so elegant. Black changes direction and goes up. White just says, I don't really mind. You can capture that side, I'll capture this side. Black needs to cover, and then white captures. So white actually has gained so many points on the bottom, because not only has white captured here, but white potentially can capture these stones here. Atari. And then black can cut through it, though. White can cut. There's no way for black to save these stone now, because black trying to Atari this way means these stones are in Atari, and then can capture. So black just, does he go here? Yeah, black covers. White Ataris anyways, and then plays here, right at the shape point. Black covers, and then white connects here. Push down, and then Atari. Black doesn't want to go here, because even though black would be able to capture this stone, it would force white to take away a liberty from these 3 stones. Which would mean white would then be able to capture these 3 stones. So again, thinking about liberties, thinking about those kind of things. Right now, if white captures, black would get sente. Yeah. White comes up, black blocks, and white does take. And then black needs to live with at the bottom. During play here, yes. White has cutting points. Black plays here. I'm not sure. This must be a time move. It doesn't really help black. It makes white's shape worse, I guess, but doesn't really help much. And then black jumps here. White descends. Black descends. And now they just kind of go into endgame. Yeah, not really much else. Pretty exciting game overall. Again, love the running fight at the top. This move is good, really good, by the way. Yeah, black can't refute it too much because white's super solid in the area. Yeah, it's overall really cool game. With the running fights, some of the opening moves. Yeah, really enjoyed it. They're not going to watch it live, sadly, since I like to watch the games live, but still a joy to review and to look at. Just quickly go to endgame. Just playing endgame. Nothing too special here. If you want to look at the game slower, I'll have a link in the description of the video to an SGF of this game if you want to look at it. But just playing endgame. Nothing special. And when white descends, black actually does resign. So white has a roughly like a 2-point lead at this point. So black does resign. Yeah, but I think overall it's a very exciting game. And yeah, I've learned a lot from this game too. I learned things like efficiency, how important efficiency is, some of the decision making, some of the like order of moves is important. So there's a lot to take away from this game, and I hope that you watching feel the same way too, and that you could take something from this video as well. But yeah, white wins this game by resignation at this point. Again, it's pretty close, like a 2-point lead for white, but white does end up winning this game by resignation. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments about the game, please let me know in the comment section. I always read the comments. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.